Hey everyone, my name is Sean Cecil, and today we will be talking about tips for entrepreneurs. So this is the final video in our quick tips series. Today we're going to be covering entrepreneurship. So there's a lot to be said here, but I'm going to try to keep it quick and keep it condensed. So first thing for entrepreneurs is you've got to have a product that meets a specific need. Too many entrepreneurs try to go too broad, right? They try to help like everybody under the sun. It's okay if everybody is in the audience, theoretically, from a demographic standpoint, as long as the real audience is people who are having a specific problem, right? So you don't necessarily have to niche down by external factors, but you need to niche down to a very specific problem that you're solving. It can't be something vague like, I help people live their best life. No, you're screwed if you do that. Like, there's no way to differentiate yourself. So you've got to have a very specific value proposition, and you've got to know what that value proposition is for the client, and you need to be able to quantify it. Next thing is you need to set a price that adequately reflects your time and your risk, right, as being an entrepreneur, and gives you enough profits to not only live comfortably, but further scale your business. If you're not setting a price at that level, you are underpricing, right? If you're afraid that people aren't going to pay it, then chances are you either haven't learned enough sales and marketing, or you haven't created enough value in your product yet. Whenever you create a product, you want to think about the profit, not in terms of the price, but you also need to consider how much it's going to cost you to deliver that product, right? Your profit is what you have left over. There's operating costs, right? Which are just like kind of these fixed running costs that happens no matter what you sell. When you're designing a product, you want to focus on kind of the cost of goods sold, right? Or technically what's called the marginal cost of delivery. So every time I sell a new product, I incur directly a cost of X, right? That's kind of the way you want to be thinking about it. And you want to make sure that that number divided by the number of hours that it's going to take you to deliver that ends up being something that's a reasonable rate for you. So I always look at the marginal dollar cost of delivery and the marginal time cost of how many hours it takes for each additional product sold or each additional client or service or whatever it is. And as I said, you can get that and you can get your hourly rate. And if you find your hourly rate is anything less than double what you would be making if you were salaried, then you're going to need to raise your price or find some way to get that up. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have other expenses that are going to come in, and there's also the risk, the need to scale, all of those other factors. Then we dive into marketing. One thing I really recommend for every entrepreneur is to create a client avatar, right? So don't just say, oh, this is the kind of person I sell to. Imagine a specific human being. It can be somebody you know, or it could be, some imaginary person. But if it's going to be an imaginary person, you need to give them as much detail as an author gives a character in their book, right? You need to get into what are their hopes, what are their fears, what are their desires, what is their life like, how many kids do they have, how many pets do they have, what car do they drive, everything. Right? You need to really be able to create that avatar and really understand that type of person. And if you do that, it's going to be really powerful for your marketing, right? Then when it comes to marketing, there's some things that are basic business infrastructure. So I think that you should always be able to sell your product just by talking to people. You should be congruent and persuasive enough that if somebody who is a client just runs into you at an event that you can make that happen. Almost every business is going to need an email list, right? There's some other things that depending on the industry can be helpful, but almost every business is going to need, an email list, a website, all that kind of stuff. And then you want to go find some form of scalable lead generation and create a system that's reliable there. And that could be Facebook advertising, that could be Google advertising, that could be, I have a friend who did it because he has a podcast and he just made a podcast and he built it up to the point that he reliably gets clients from his podcast. Great, right? But you need to find some specific marketing channel that you can scale, that you can keep doing, that will get bigger, that allows you to get progressively more clients, and where you reliably know that you put in X amount of dollars or X amount of time and then you get Y clients back. Once you have that, then you can start worrying about building the others. I've seen many entrepreneurs who try to build everything at the same time. That's not productive. Focus on one, get it dialed in, then worry about the rest. Especially because you may find out a lot about backends and other stuff, and maybe even changes to your offer that you need to make as you're doing that. Then we get into more of an operations type thing. You really want to put some thought into what are all the things that need to be done and who's going to do them, right? And the reason I say who's going to do them is that as an entrepreneur, there are going to be lots of things that you're either going to want to contract out or even hire employees for, right? Even if you're, working for yourself, right? It may not be best for you to do your own taxes, right? It may not be best for you to do your own video editing. At the beginning, you may, right? But it's generally better to hire somebody because you have to think about like the dollar value of the task of your time and how long it's going to take you, right? So like if your time is worth, again, we have that rate, say it's worth $150 an hour from what we're doing before, and you don't hire an assistant to do a $20 an hour task, then you're losing $130 an hour. If you're doing something where, like, as I said, like video editing, where somebody who's got the skill can do it really fast, but it takes you, 8 times as long or 10 times as long or 20 times as long because you don't have the skill set to produce an inferior product, then guess what? You're burning a lot of value of your time by not hiring that person, right? So, this is the kind of thing that you have to think about as an entrepreneur. People who sit there and just try to do everything themselves to save money never scale, right? So that's something to think about. Another thing as an entrepreneur, you got to think about all the risks involved in the business. Most entrepreneurs tend to delusional optimism, and it's almost necessary to start a business. And there's not a problem with that. It's natural. And the ones who really succeed are generally the ones who dial that back and make an effort to really think through all of the possible risks so that they can either prevent them or mitigate them. And one of those big risks is competition, right? So many people don't like to look at possible competition. Like, oh no, I got this, right? There's a lot of confidence, but it's really important to dive in and make sure that you have a clear value proposition that strongly delineates you from the competition. That's really, 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 really crucial. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, make sure, run your financials, make sure that you've got a profit number that inspires you. Put some thought into all the operating expenses, put some thought into making sure that you have enough capital and or credit to take the company from, when you start it to first revenue to first, profitable year. Obviously that's critical. Be super careful about business partners. This is a big one. It's very easy for a business to fail because of founder conflict. There are 3 kinds of things that every equity partner should bring. One of these 3, they should either bring financial capital, they should bring social capital in terms of connections to people who can help, move the business along and open channels and open doors that wouldn't otherwise be open, or they should bring skills capital in their skill set of what they can do that other people cannot do. If you have somebody who doesn't have any of those 3, you've got a major problem. That means you're probably bringing somebody in because, you feel like, it would be nice to be in business with your cousin or whatever because he's such a cool guy or whatever. Screw that, right? Like if you don't have somebody who's a contributing business partner, then the whole thing's going to go down in flames. You need to make sure that every single business partner is operating at a level of consciousness that's congruent with yours. Right? You can't operate if you guys are speaking completely different languages because you're on different levels of thinking. That's just not, it's not going to fly very well unless you have faith in your ability to manage those people. And I really, really, really advise against being in something other than equal partnership. Not saying that all the equity has to be equal and all that, but like if you're engaging somebody from a perspective of managing them as a business partner, that's toxic. Right? It's really going to drain you. It's going to create resentment. It's not an ideal situation. So you want to be very, very conscious about business partners, and you want to really, really think through, right? It's like getting married kind of thing. Like you want to be really sure that this is the right bet on it. I've certainly experienced my share of founder conflict in the past. So, something to be aware of. Yeah, and so those are the quick tips for entrepreneurship. I hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I'll see you next week. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's something that resonated with you, maybe a new connection that you made or some information that shifted your perspective, if you found value here, then I want to give you one last gift. So I've put together a free diagnostic that I call a checkup with the career doctor. Short list of questions, and as you answer them, it's going to give you a readout of where you stand on the important metrics of career fulfillment, right? How happy are you with your job and how good a fit is it, right? Financial success, which we all know, and then internal alignment, which is your level of inner peace and the inner resources that you have to bring to creating the life that you want. Additionally, it's also going to show you which areas you can improve on to get those metrics moving in the right direction, as well as how can we at the Oculus Institute help you make progress. So it's totally free 100%, all you have to do is just go to www.oculusinstitute.com/purpose quiz, right? No spaces, no dashes, just oculusinstitute.com. That's OCULUSINSTITUTE.com/purpose quiz. And you can take it totally for free. You'll get a free report sent to you. And then at the end, it will give you some next steps of what you can do to reach out so that we can help you create the career of your dreams.